Okay, so we're looking at the Halloween Deluxe Edition Blu-ray box set, 15 discs, every film, and it really is a fantastic box set. Probably the best horror box set. Beats the Friday the 13th one from last year by quite some way. Now the version I've got actually is a signed version. There's a store in California called Dark Delicacies, and they had a signing by various people connected to the Halloween films. So I've got PJ Souls, who's Linda in the first film, signed this. John Carpenter is the silver signature. Alan Howarth. There's various other people. DC Brandy, who played Jamie in Part 6. Some more on the top there. So it makes it pretty special, actually. So I'm quite chuffed to have managed to get that. There are a few on eBay if you want to buy them, but they are fairly expensive. Right, so on to the actual content of this box set. So we have every film in its own case, which I know the fans like and demand these days, all with the original cover art. So I'm just going to go through each film. The first one, well, what can you say about Halloween? The best horror film possibly ever made. Incredible direction by John Carpenter, great music, iconic score. Now this particular version is the same as the 35th anniversary Blu-ray that was released last year. So you've basically got two discs. To disc 1 there and disc 2, and the actual colour timing on this particular version is quite interesting because it shows, well, to me it sort of showed more that it was actually filmed in the summer rather than the autumn. It didn't look particularly autumnal, and I think that's a change that they've made, but apparently it's how it should look. So but it's a great transfer. I mean, you can't pick holes in it whatsoever. So fantastic original film. Part 2. Now, I hadn't seen Part 2 for probably 5 or 6 years, and again, a really great Blu-ray transfer, and I really dug the music in this one because he slightly fiddled with the Halloween theme, and I really enjoy. I think it's a really solid sequel. I know some people slag it off, but it picks up where one left off. It's not quite as good, but very, very good. And love the ending, and I think the two films really go very, very well together. This particular version here, again, is 2 discs, and it has a television version as well with it, which is on DVD, not Blu-ray. We then get on to Part 3, Season of the Witch. Now, I'd actually never seen this. I think maybe I did once when I was a kid, but I enjoyed it. I mean, this is obviously, for those of you that know the franchise, the one Halloween film that doesn't feature Michael Myers. It's about the Silver Shamrock Company who make masks. That's all I'll say on the subject, but it's a solid horror film. I think at that point they were then going to do subsequent sequels that had the name Halloween in the title, but were standalone stories. Obviously, the fans demanded more than that, so they wanted Michael Myers back, basically. Now, this particular version, again, it's 1 disc. This is the same as the Scream Factory version that was released a couple of years ago. Okay, Part 4. Now, I absolutely love Part 4. It's when Michael Myers came back, hence the return of Michael Myers in the title. Donald Pleasance is fantastic in it. He really plays the character of Loomis so well. I mean, everything about him in these films, I think, is part of really what made the Halloween franchise last, in my opinion, just as much as Michael Myers. So this Part 4, again, I think this is the same as the Anchor Bay version that was released a couple of years ago again. Loved Part 4, but then they followed it up with Part 5, which to me is probably the first bad movie that was made. Part 4 was so good, and then obviously they still have Danielle Harris in this one, but the story's a little bit slow. You can tell it was sort of rushed into production. The other characters are a bit bland. There's some good elements to it, but I was disappointed, and it really threw the franchise for me, this one. I would always watch Part 4 ahead of Part 5 any day. And then really the pull of this box set for a lot of people is Part 6, but not necessarily the film so much, but this particular version includes the producer's cut of Part 6. Now obviously this is the last film that featured Donald Pleasance. I've only ever seen the theatrical version before now, and it always, to me, I mean, I know the theatrical version, they went back and reshot a load of scenes to include more gore, etc. But the actual reshoots, I think, happened after Donald Pleasence had sadly died, and to me it just looks like a half-finished film. You can tell he was sort of in it for some of the scenes and not for others. So if you look at the producer's cut, I'm not saying it improves on the film drastically, although to me it is just more of a complete film. He was there for the whole lot. It includes a proper ending with him. It makes a lot more of the Thorn storyline. Some like that, some don't. But it was a really good watch. I thoroughly enjoyed watching it. It's certainly an improvement over Part 5. But following that, of course, we come to, well, this is my favourite horror sequel ever. Now, basically, if you're not familiar with the timeline of these movies, this one ignores parts 4, 5 and 6 completely, and is 20 years after the end of Part 2. So really you can watch Halloween, Halloween 2 and Halloween H2O on their own, and they are almost the perfect trilogy. Jamie Lee Curtis in this film is absolutely superb. I think the score by John Ottman is wonderful. The way he's taken Carpenter's Halloween theme and done this sort of sweeping orchestral version of it. And it's it's 85 minutes or 80 minutes long. It's taut. There's a decent storyline. It's got really good characters in it. Josh Hartnett is good. LL Cool J is fantastic in it. Jamie Lee, as I said, is wonderful. And it really gets the hairs on the back of my neck standing up watching this film. And I watched it twice in this box set. So if you're a casual Halloween fan, you could be forgiven for just watching 1, 2, and H2O. Particularly when they followed up H2O with this mess. Halloween Resurrection, again, a bit like Halloween 5 after Halloween 4, because of the success of H2O, I think it was the following year, they then rush out this sequel. I think they'd already, I won't give anything away in case anyone hasn't seen H2O, but the ending is fairly final. And I think they'd filmed the get out of the ending of H2O to tag on to the beginning of Halloween Resurrection. Now, the film itself, I found, and again, I've not really watched this since the theatrical release, 14 odd years ago now. It feels like two films. It has the end, a recap of the end of H2O with, what really happened. It then has the end of the Jamie Lee Curtis, Laurie Strode character, and then it starts, after about half an hour, it starts with an hour-long sort of relaunch of the franchise in a sort of, with a modern twist, I guess you could call it, but it all falls flat. They've got Busta Rhymes in this, and I can only say that they had him in it purely because LL Cool J was so damn good in the one before. So you think, I tell you what, we'll get a rapper in this one as well. But as good as LL Cool J was, Busta Rhymes is absolutely awful. This is a chore to get through, this film, I have to say. And you could be forgiven really for skipping it altogether. And I think that's obviously why they then didn't go back to that storyline. And you then have Rob Zombie's reboots. Now, these films, they have a lot of fans hate them, a lot of fans like them. I really like Rob Zombie as a filmmaker. I mean, don't get me wrong, when you've watched any of his films, you really want to go and have a hot shower afterwards. They're grubby, dirty movies, incredibly gory, incredibly violent. But I think I watched these films are best watched back to back. I watched these, and by the way, in this box set, these are both the director's cuts. And funny enough, I think the director's cut of Part 1 is worse than the theatrical cut, and the director's cut of Part 2 is better than the theatrical cut. So anyway, you can make up your own mind. But the first one is a great remake, in my opinion. And the second one, as much as everyone moans and groans and seems to dislike it, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I really, really enjoyed it, particularly this extended director's cut. Now, in the package for Part 2, you've got the bonus disc as well, which has a number of things on it, including, this is the booklet that comes with the box set. If you want to know what the bonus disc has on it, freeze this and have a look. That's basically what it has. So anyway, what can you say about this box set? It's the first time a lot of these films have been released. In fact, it's the first time these have ever been released together. It's a really, really comprehensive, fantastic job done by Screen Factory and Anchor Bay. So I thoroughly recommend that you pick this up. Any casual or big fan of Halloween like me, it's a must buy. So anyway, until next time, I hope you enjoyed this review. Take care, and I'll speak to you soon.